many young managers never get another job after their first job. Cutthroat. If you're not successful in your first job, you're out. I went into West Ham, and the same week Pards went into Charlton, but I signed Pards for Charlton. It was one of our first signings. We got beat 4-0
at the Valley, wasn't it?
At the Valley. The West Ham fans were saying we want our manager back, which was really nice of them. You know? I thought, that's great. I said to my missus, who was my girlfriend at the time, I said, look, we could be moving anywhere. I think we might as well get married. She went to me, what is that, a marriage proposal? He said, boss, let the boys talk. I'll make you a coffee. And then suddenly Roberto shouts out at him, and he says, boss, I've got to talk to Roberto. So he goes into the hallway. He comes back in, and he goes, boss, I love the club, but not that much.
Oh, did he?
Welcome to Clutch 9, powered by Betway. I'm Glenn Murray. Alongside me is Ginge, my usual co-host, and today we've got our first manager on the podcast, Alan Curbishley. And I will say, I'll go in early and say, best dressed guest so far.
By mine.
I feel underdressed.
Better than me and you, yeah.
Well, that's a bonus, isn't it?
You take that, boss.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How are you?
Good. Looking forward to it. But I feel as if I'm going to be interrogated by you.
Police interrogation?
Yeah, the way I'm sitting, yeah.
The lights on, yeah.
The lights are on me, yeah.
Well, seeing as I've got two ex-West Ham men here with me, we'll probably go right into that. Obviously, you had a long playing career and then went into management. Were you one of those guys, me and Ginge have seen them in the past, that always was destined to be a manager?
I don't know if I was destined, but, you know, as I was going through my playing career, I mean, I had great coaches at West Ham, Ron Greenwood and John Lyall. They were fantastic coaches. And I always remember Ron Greenwood's, he always come out with quotes, but one of the quotes he always used to come out with was, we're going to give you the best education we can as a youngster, and we would really love it if you become a player for West Ham. If you don't become a player for West Ham, we'd also love it if you played somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was the mentality as we was growing up as kids. And, you know, I went to West Ham as a schoolboy. Frank Lampard Sr. used to coach me Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evenings. And everyone at West Ham was encouraged to coach, if you like. But, yeah, that was their motto at Ron Greenwood and John Lyall. We want to produce players for West Ham, but if you don't play for West Ham, we'd like you to go and play somewhere else, which I always thought was a great way of putting it. And, so throughout my career, you pick things up off of other people. And, I had some really good managers and, as I say, really good coaches, and you pick things up as you go along. And
were you always conscious of that? Were you always like keeping a mental note?
Yeah, I think when I was at Villa, I went to Villa with Tony Barton, who was the chief scout before he got the job. Ron Saunders left and went to Birmingham. And then Graham Turner came in from Shrewsbury, a different attitude and philosophy completely. But, you pick things up off of everybody. And I think when I went to Charlton, that's when I really started thinking about it. I took a couple of injuries and you think, another bad injury could be the end of it. So, I started thinking round about Villa, then definitely at Charlton.
Back then, was the badges and things, was there like a formal or has it always been a formal process like
but
this?
You went to Bisham Abbey or Lillishall for 2 weeks, to do your badges. And
2 weeks,
2 weeks, I was going to say 2 weeks solid, boss. And then
solid,
yeah.
Wow. And while I was at Lillishall, I was being, one of the main coaches there was a guy called Les Reed. And when I ended up getting the job at Charlton, the first thing I done is took Les Reed from the FA, and because I knew I needed to get a really top coaching for your first job. So many young managers never get another job after their first job. Because
what's that? Because of wrong
it's
people
so
they've taken with them.
So cutthroat. If you're not successful in your first job, you're out completely. You've got to do well in your first job to then progress. And the failure rate is so great in terms of a first-time manager. Yeah, so, I was lucky. I brought Les Reed in, and then after that I had Mervyn Day as my coach, and, we went on from there.
It's the hardest one, you've got to get... I couldn't imagine being a player, 1 week or one season, and then trying to actually take a session. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to get my head around it.
Do you think that's like more prevalent these days? Do you think you get even less time now, or not?
Yeah, I think that... it's much more difficult, isn't it? I think managing now, there's so many different factions, sporting directors and this coach, that coach, set play coach, this. Whereas we've done it all, basically.
Yeah. It was better smaller though, wasn't it? It was better small, like a
I think
knit.
Yeah, and I think the players knew who was in charge. If there was a problem, you come to the manager. Now I would imagine the players, if they got a problem, would firstly go and see the player liaison officer, who then probably advise you to go
meeting to go and see someone
go
else.
and see someone else. Yeah. It's got a little bit complicated. I think the top managers are still in charge of most things.
Do you think still contracts, boss? I remember coming to see you about a contract. Do you reckon like the top boys still do the contracts?
Do you turn him down, Alan?
No, I gave me one. The boss gave me one.
It's funny. When I was at Charlton, the chairman used to do it, and when I first went to West Ham, I got involved, but then it got a bit too much, too complicated, and I think agents were getting involved and etc. And it has become a complicated situation now. That surely, I don't know if the sporting director comes and sees the manager and goes, "Do you want Glenn Murray? Do you want James Collins? Do you want Freddie Smith?"
Well, I actually don't think in a lot of clubs that question gets asked to the manager.
Yeah. I think what probably happens now, if you're looking for a left back, you would go and say to the sporting director, "Look, I think we need a left back." The sporting director will come with 4 or 5 options.
Do you think a manager gets? Because I think some managers are supplied for.
Well, that's how I see it. That perhaps the sporting director then recommends 4 or 5 options. This is the cheapest one. This is is the most expensive one. What one do you want to go for? Because if you go for the most expensive one, the next player you want to go for, we might not have enough money. So I understand that, but I'm not too sure if the manager has a say in who the sporting director is, or etc. So it's a lot more complicated now.
Yeah, different old clubs. Right, let's get into West Ham, since that I've got you two with me. Currently 18th in the table. I've been really positive, Alan, for a long time. Ginge, getting more positive, aren't you?
Every week now, the way they're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
you, Curbs will probably say the same. 4 weeks ago, it looked dire. It did. I said it on here.
But you were scoring goals. And I think when you get relegated from the Premier League, the toughest thing to do at that level of football is score goals, and you always had an abundance of goals in your side.
Yeah,
I think a couple of weeks ago when it was 2 or 3 wins to catch Forest, and then that's without even thinking about goal difference, which is another point. It was looking a bit dicey, but the run now 3 wins, 3 out of 4.
Yeah. And you went 2-0 up at Chelsea. In that run,
and then obviously a tough game midweek. But I think that the confidence is coming back, and I've been to a couple of games at the stadium where the fans were down, but now I think they're looking the other way and perhaps looking up.
They can see us getting out of it now. Somerville's been unreal. West Ham fans need a player like Somerville to get them on the edge of the seat, get behind the team. I think Fernandes, centre mid's been brilliant the last few weeks. Obviously, Jared Bowen does his thing. But Somerville, I think he's 5 in 5. Somerville, unbelievable. So if we've spoken about it without Curbs on here, about us in 2007 getting the momentum and a bit of belief behind us. They look like they're doing exactly the same.
I think one thing happened in that run of the they call it the Great Escape, but the 7 wins out of 9. I would always remember, you always get a little bit of luck. We
Blackburn away.
No, but I think we were beating Spurs 3-1 at home and ended up getting beat 4-3. And I always remember we got a corner and people I think Ginge was going, "I'm going, get some." Anyway, cut a long story short, we got beat 4-3, but it was the first time I was driving home thinking, I'm keeping the same team next week at Blackburn. Then we go to Blackburn, I think we get a penalty that was a bit iffy.
Yeah.
Tevez got a penalty and we scored a goal I didn't think went over the line. So we suddenly got a bit of luck at Blackburn, which changed things. And it culminated in the last game at Old Trafford, where I'm not going to say who the player was, but it was a centre-back, who got the ball and went to play it to the right back, but back-heeled it and played it that way and played it to the left back. And at Old Trafford, just you're sitting up, and you're a bit higher.
Big camber.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, blimey, 5 or 6 weeks ago, that player might have tried to do that. He'll have hit his heel and the Man United player would run through the middle.
I'm
and
trying
scored.
to work out whether it's me or not.
No, it was,
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't you. No.
Doing a Cruyff.
No, I was going to say that.
honestly, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Doing a Cruyff,
Yeah.
The player done a Cruyff.
Yeah.
And I just sat there thinking, cool, 6 or 7 weeks ago, that wouldn't have, they'd have done that, it'd have hit the back of his heel, and Ronaldo would have run through and scored.
Yeah. So how when obviously there was positive stakes in the Spurs game, scoring all them goals, you kept that same team going to Blackburn. How then do you harness that momentum within the squad?
No, it was the quality was still there. So 9 of the players that played in most of them games was already at the football club before I got there. Already there, playing. And I think, I look back on it and I think the team had won promotion, then got to a cup final, and never had a bad run. And then suddenly had a bad run and didn't quite know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And probably not winning for 10 games and things like that. They'd never done before. But suddenly you're in the Premier League, and once you get on that sort of run, it's very, very difficult. And I think the players and everybody just lost their way. But going back to the Spurs game, then the Blackburn game, once a little bit of confidence came back, there was no coaching going on. The players were doing it just on their own, So the ability was always there, just lost their way.
Can I take you back a bit before that, boss? I don't think I really spoke to you about it. About obviously you coming to West Ham and Pards going to Charlton as well, which was...
When was that? What month was that?
December.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was December. I'd left Charlton, I'd been out nearly 6 months. I think West Ham got beat 4-0 at Bolton. Pards then got the sack. I then got a phone call from a reporter saying that, they want to talk to you and all that sort of thing. And then I went into West Ham, and the same week Pards went into Charlton, but I signed Pards for Charlton. It was one of our first signings back in the day. So we had a long history. He played in the... He's never forgiven me because the first game back at the Valley... I dropped him and played gritty. Yeah. And he'd never forgive me. Because it was the big game going back to the Valley. Only mucking about. But yeah, so I signed Pards for Charlton and then was going into West Ham, taking over from him, and he was then going into Charlton, taking over for me and Dowie, I think.
Yeah. Did you speak to him? Did you speak to Pards? Were you speaking about that time?
But unbeknown to all you players, he was forever coming in trying to sign some of his for Charlton. And one of them was Teddy, funny enough.
Was he? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to explain to Ted that he knows, he obviously realises now, but he was saying, Pards wants me over at Charlton. I'm going, Ted, if you go to Charlton and they stay up and I go down, do you think that looks good?
Yeah.
But, so things were going on in the background, which happened.
When he was calling you, does he still refer to you as Gaffer?
No.
I'm still calling him boss now.
Gaffer, I need some players from you.
Well, then we played Charlton, was it your first game?
No, it was one of the early ones, but we got beat 4-0.
4-0. All 4 goals my fault.
Yeah, we got beat 4-0
at the Valley, wasn't it?
At the Valley, and the West Ham fans were saying we want our manager back, which was really nice of them. I thought that's great.
It must have been quite a strange scenario when you've both taken over from each other's clubs, and then you come up against each other not long after
in a relegation battle, and you get beat 4-0. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you go into the manager's office afterwards to have a drink and whatever. It wasn't good. And we took a couple of fumbles, got beat 6 at Reading, didn't we?
Yeah.
Got beat 6 at Reading, New Year's Day. The main thing, as I keep saying, is when people look at that run, 9 of the players, it was only Lucas Neal and I think Lewis Bowen-Morty that were playing. The rest of the players were already at the football club.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of confidence, and that's what you're looking at now. Teams down the bottom, it's all about confidence.
Yeah.
Players do things, when you're in the bottom 3, they do things that they wouldn't do if they was in the top half of the table, It's just different.
I speak about it all the time. I'm sure Curbs will agree. Everyone talks about Tevez, and I think we kept a good few clean sheets.
6.
6 clean sheets, yeah. Didn't want to say it, but...
He knew that.
Everyone forgets that as well.
Bobby Zamora, though, boss. Bobby Zamora in that. I said it on the air a couple of weeks ago.
So obviously the big
Tevez
names.
was good. He scored goals. You know what I mean?
What would he get? 7?
Okay, yeah, I don't know what he scored. But Bobby Zamora in that running was unbelievable. Doesn't really get Hayden. A few of the boys who don't get
No. It's always everyone talks about
names,
Rob Green in goal. I think we went to Arsenal and Rob made 4 or 5 unbelievable saves, and
I think probably more than that.
That
was unreal. That game.
That was an unreal game, wasn't it? You know, so you get a little bit of luck, and you know, I think, as I keep saying, confidence is a massive thing. You know, how'd you get that? You know, only by results.
Games,
But like also, so you're going through this good run, but you know at the end of this good run, last day of the season, you're going to Old Trafford. That must have still been, and it's still in the balance, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we had to get a result at Old Trafford.
And what was their predicament?
United.
They won the league, they'd won it all.
They'd already won the league. They'd already won the league, and the week after playing us, they was in the cup final.
Yeah.
So they got an opportunity to do the double, and I think that's probably affected Fergie's team selection for that game, because he left out Ronaldo and Rooney, I think, 1 or 2 others.
Goals, I don't think.
To rest them for the cup final. But as we're coming off at half time, the Stretford end are singing "Send them down, send them down, send them down." Do you remember? Because there's a bit of history. No, but there's history because West Ham.
Ludo, was it?
No, West Ham stopped Man United winning the league.
That's right.
I
remember that year. Yeah.
You know, home. I think West Ham was at home to Man United.
Is that the year Blackburn won it?
I think so. Yeah.
Ludwig McCloskey, the greatest performance you've ever seen.
Yeah, and so they've not forgot that either. So I remember the second half, the Stretford end was singing "Send them down, send them down, send them down," and Fergie brought the big guns on.
I was going to say, I remember.
He brought them on then, didn't he?
Wow.
Yeah, he brought them on.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. No. I just think that whenever I think about that run of games, I always think about that incident at Old Trafford where it was. To be fair, I've said it before. It was Anton.
Yeah.
Anton had the ball. He went to knock it that way, backheeled it and knocked it that way. Now, I'm not picking on
Doesn't
Anton.
sound like Anton.
No, I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying that would not have happened 5 or 6 games before that, you know, and it was just different confidence.
I just remember everyone being on it, going back to the Arsenal game, Yossi Benayoun clearing balls off the line, everyone in it. It was just unbelievable. I try to think of the home games. Did we beat Everton at home 3-0 or something? Not standout results of that running, but like beating Everton at home 3-0. I think it was Everton. Bolton.
We played Everton and Bolton, who were trying to get into Europe.
And Bolton were a good side there.
Yeah, Sam too.
Clean sheets against both, right?
Yeah, they were trying to get into Europe. So it wasn't that we just played Man United, who was the top side and whatever. Some of the other teams we played were in the top 6.
Am I right in thinking Mark Noble in that team or not? Am I wrong there?
Mark Noble was in the team.
Nobes was in it, yeah.
You know, I gave Nobes his debut because I came in. Nobes come to see me. He was 17 now. Yeah. He's come to see me, and he had the opportunity to go to Ipswich, I think, on loan. And he said, "Look, you know, I can go to Ipswich on loan." And I said, "Well, I've never seen you play. You know, I want you to stay. Just let me." And he said, "Well, if I stay and you don't play me or whatever, I won't then be able to go because they'll take someone else."
Opportunity, they're gone.
And I said, "Well, you know, I think you're better off staying so I can have a look at you." And to be fair to him, he was in my face every day. You know,
not like him.
Like first out, waiting for everybody. Really? You know, and you know, as I walk in after training, he'd be standing there. You know, he was in my face, which I didn't mind. But then he came in for the Spurs game. Yeah, he came in for the Spurs game, scored, which we got beat 4-3, winning 3-1, got beat 4-3, and then everyone. I think the worst game out of that was Sheffield United away.
Sheffield United away 3-0.
So we lose to Sheffield United, and West Ham are 10 points behind Sheffield United with 10 games to go, and I think everybody thought that was it. A lot worse than the position West Ham are in now, you know. And I always remember you're talking about Bobby Zamora, but Jagielka scores from a corner, climbs all over Bob, and I said to him at half time, "What, you know, no uncertain terms, you know, what are you doing? He's like a foot smaller than you. He's climbed all over you." And Bobby come out with a classic. "I'm no good at marking at corners."
I thought he was going to say, "I don't head the ball."
No.
What to do with that spare man?
No, he said he come out with a classic. "I'm no good at marking at corners." And I said, well, you could have told me that before. There was a few swear words going in.
Yeah.
I said, but you could have told me that before the start of the game, And but that was a bit of a turning point. We got beat with 10 games to go, 10 points behind Sheffield United. And as it turned out, Sheffield United never won another game.
Well, they probably thought they'd done enough.
Yeah.
Well, they never won another game. And, so that's how quickly things can change. That they probably thought they were safe, and then suddenly they ain't.
How hard was it at the time, boss, to deal with Carlos Tevez with it? Because he had an interpreter constantly.
Yeah, had an interpreter.
Sat with him in the dressing room a lot.
Well,
I still swear he spoke English, by the way.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to speak to him.
To be fair, I walked into Tevez and Mascherano, which I didn't know about.
Yeah.
In all reality, I knew they was at the football club, but I didn't know too much about the circumstances. And then obviously I found out, and the little interpreter.
I forget.
I called both of them in because I didn't quite understand it, Mascherano. So you may know better than me, but Mascherano played some football, played some games, but Tevez hadn't played any. So I called them both in with the interpreter, and I just tried to get how they were feeling. And I said to the both of them, what do you want to do? Because the window was opening up, the transfer window. And Mascherano hinted that he wanted to go, and Tevez wanted to stay. And out of the two of them, Tevez hadn't been playing, but Mascherano had, and I couldn't quite get that one. And then I couldn't quite understand how Mascherano could go somewhere because of his third-party ownership and etc. What was all involved. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think anyone still understands.
Another day.
Yeah.
But our people talk to your people. But Mascherano ends up having to go to Liverpool. He goes to Liverpool, and Tevez wanted to stay, and so that was it. And we carried on.
So fast forward, and what happened when you exited West Ham? How did that come about?
Well, I think I can't remember. No, we played Blackburn at home. Paul Ince was the manager, and we won 4-1. So we stayed up. We stayed up last game of the season or whatever. The next season we finished 10th. And then the start of the next season, we played Blackburn at home. I think it was only 3 or 4 games.
10th, happy?
Yeah, we was 10th.
Yeah, happy with that though.
Mid-table.
Yeah,
comfortable.
And then the next season we started off well. There's only 4 games gone, I think. It was the last game before international break. Beat Blackburn 4-1. And I went upstairs, as you do, to be told that Georgia signed for Sunderland. And I didn't even know anything about it. I just assumed Georgia was injured. Now the players might have knew a bit more, but I didn't know that George had gone up to Sunderland to sign. I think Roy Keane was the manager, I think. And Roy hadn't spoke to me about it. No one had spoke to me about it. And I just thought, well, I'm not in charge anymore. And we were playing Northampton. We played Northampton in a League Cup game. I said, it was a Tuesday night, and I said to the players, I'm going to make a few changes for this game because obviously I want to look at 1 or 2 others. We're playing Northampton at home in the Cup. So we announced the team tomorrow night at the game. And I heard one player say, well, I hope I'm not playing because I don't want to be cup tied.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
So I said to Merv...
Obviously he hasn't meant for you to hear that, has he?
Well, I don't know, but I said to Merv, go and find out what that's about. So Merv went to speak to the player. He said, well, I know you're trying to sell me. And I said,
but you didn't know?
No, I didn't know. What are you on about? I'm trying to sell. What I said to Merv, what's he on about? That I'm trying to sell him. And apparently a lot of the players' agents have been told that everyone was for sale. I didn't know anything about it. So that was bubbling under. So I thought I was losing control of the thing. And so, I went to see the people in charge and went, basically, you broke my contract. And because I had a clause in my contract that said the manager alone self-select players to the club and leave the club. Because I was going into a situation where I had Icelandic owners, I didn't know who they were, I didn't know how the thing was. So in my mind, they'd sold players behind, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Can I take you back to one story about me, but you will remember it. Can you remember a meeting we had? I said it to Glenn earlier on. We were playing Man United.
This doesn't strike me as you, Jim.
It's not me. I would never been so nervous after. I'll tell you the story first. He was naming the team. We was at, what was that hotel called in Manchester?
The last game you're on about?
No. This was before this.
The Worsley Marriott.
Worsley Marriott. Yeah. And you were doing your meeting, and you had I wasn't in the squad. I was up there, but I wasn't starting. I wasn't in the squad, and I got my book out in the meeting. Do you remember this?
What book?
I don't know why I was reading the book. Anyway, George remembers it. George, and I started reading the book because obviously I was fuming that I wasn't playing. And you went to me. You obviously can't remember it. Do you want to be here? And I think I said not really because I was at the with thing. And you went, right, out you go. Kick me out of the meeting. Maybe sit on
Wasn't
the
that polite?
Yeah, honestly. But after that, as soon as I sat on the bus, I went, oh no, what have I done? Do you know that sort of like horrendous feeling?
Well, the other thing, I think you might remember that we stayed up at Old Trafford and we was contracted to play
we had a testimonial up on the Monday, didn't we?
A testimonial game. That was at Northampton, I think.
Yeah, it was.
For Andy Woodman, I think. It was Bard's mate. Bard's mate.
Yeah.
We played the game and we got back to Upton Park, and you probably remember this. And as we stopped at Upton Park, I just said to the players, look, fantastic, you've done great. You know, you've kept the club up, etc. I know there's some unhappy players in here. So please come and see me if you want to go. I thought I might as well get it out of the way.
Yeah, do it, yeah.
You know, come and see me before I go home now and tell me, you know, if you want to go, come and tell me so I know. And a few of them did come and see me, which was fine. One or two of them I didn't want to go, you know, but they wanted to go. But at least I knew. And I knew where I stood, you know, because there were some unhappy players that obviously weren't playing, or I'd upset, or this or that, or been upset before I got there about contracts and whatever. And I think there was about 4 of them. Yossi was one. Yeah, Yossi was one and whatever. And that was over a contract that he'd been promised, but never came. Yeah. And I didn't know nothing about it. There was things going on.
You're walking into that.
Yeah, but I just wanted to clear the air. And I thought the best way was to say, do you want to go or do you want to stay? Come and see me. And as I say, four or five of the players who played and kept us up wanted to go for whatever reason. So that was fine. At least I knew. Yeah. And, you know, I could plan, you know, that summer.
Gave me a new contract that summer, boss.
Wow.
Must have been desperate.
Must have been desperate. It was a good one, probably my best one.
You couldn't have upset me that much then.
He's been loyal. He's been loyal. I give him a new deal.
No, he couldn't have upset me reading that book that much.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
True.
Honestly, I've never been so nervous. I was thinking, what have you done there?
Clutch 9 is powered by our friends at Betway, your home for weekly free bets, free spins, and so much more. So don't miss out. Head to Betway today.
How do you deal with I would say that's quite out of character for him.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
I must admit, I've never ever heard of it before.
No.
No, like
from any other manager. Been overplaying him.
No, from any other manager, I've never heard anything like that. But yeah, never mind.
Well, let's.
I wasn't too much trouble though.
No.
that was one in there.
No, you don't strike me as you to be fair. Let's rewind it back to your playing days, and obviously you crossed the divide of the second city derby a long time ago, didn't you?
I played my debut for West Ham when I was about 17. And I think I still am the youngest person to ever be on the team sheet. Because I was 16, I was only a month into an apprenticeship, and it was the opening game of the season. And there was loads of injuries, and I got made sub against Everton, but I never went on. And I think I'm still the youngest person ever to be on a team sheet at West Ham. But yeah, I got into the team early, but the team got relegated, and you know, I played the first half of the season in the Championship and got left out, and never really played too much to the end of the season. And freedom of contract had just come in. It was the new thing, freedom of contract. So if your contract had run out, you was free to move, and a tribunal would set the transfer fee.
Yeah.
So I let my contract run out, although John Lyle and that they wanted me to sign, but I didn't want to. I was 20 and I wasn't playing and whatever. I played nearly 100 games, but wasn't playing for that second half of the season. So I used that opportunity to, you know, be free to talk to people. And Birmingham come in for me, Jimmy Smith at Birmingham. West Ham was in the Championship and Birmingham was in the Championship, but I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing moving up to Birmingham. And that's what I did. And I went up to Birmingham, and Jimmy Smith was a proper man manager, and if you couldn't handle the language, then you was in trouble. But he just sold Trevor Francis for £1 million.
Oh, that was the move, yeah.
And that was the move. So when I went to meet him, he said to me, "You're the first one in, I'm going to sign other players." And he went and signed Archie Gemmell, Colin Todd, Frank Worthington, Willie Johnston. So he signed these 4 like experienced like super dupers, and me, who was like 20. And I went into that sort of environment, and we won promotion. You know, we went up into the Premier League, if you like, and then stayed there. And then the next season, Birmingham were mid-table, and Ron Saunders had just won the league at Villa and had a big bust-up with the board over signing players. Apparently, they could if he wanted to sign Ginge, they'd have a vote, the board, and if they voted against him, he couldn't sign him now. Okay. And he sort of like had enough, and so he threatened to resign, and they went, "Go on then," or whatever.
There you.
And he resigned. So then a week later, Birmingham sacked Jimmy Smith, and we was comfortable mid-table, and Ron Saunders comes into Birmingham, and Tony Barton was the chief scout or whatever. He then took the team at Villa, and they went on and won the European Cup, right? And Ron Saunders then comes over to Birmingham, and I don't think he was told all the truth that he didn't quite have much money to spend. And so it was a little bit difficult for Ron, but crazy. The thing that went on, you know, in Birmingham at the time, and I was right in the middle of it. And Ron Saunders, deadline week, he didn't have a lot of money, and it was deadline week. And he come to see me, and this is the language then. He come to see me and said, "I don't know why they want you."
Cheers, boss. Start off and wait for
it. No, we did. He said, "I don't know why they want you. I wish I'd have used it a few times myself, but I don't know why they want you. F off over there and don't come back." Right?
Was it?
Right? Because he wanted to sign Robert Hopkins.
Okay, yeah.
So he had no money, and he was signing young kids from Villa, Noel Blake, Robert Hopkins, Tony Rees, 1 or 2 others. And so Tony Barton, I think, thought, well, I better take one of them. So I went over to Villa in a swap of money with Robert Hopkins. And the first game for me at Aston Villa was against Birmingham. And I thought I was going into Villa as a central midfield player. But Tony Barton put me wide right in place of Des Bremner, wide right. And I'm playing against Mark Dennis, right, who was my mate at Birmingham, bonkers.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I could be in a bit of trouble here, right? Anyway, cut a long story short, I played my first game against Birmingham. Villa won 1-0. It was all kicking off on the pitch. Everyone was like screaming. The fans were it's all, you know, battling away. But yeah, it was a difficult time. That when
there must have been a lot of noise around Birmingham at the time.
It was really
my first game for Villa was against Birmingham as well.
But how were you received? Not by the fan base,
not very well, really. You know, it's because it just didn't happen. Just didn't happen.
But he was taking young lads from Villa, though.
He was taking young lads from Villa, so he took Noel Blake, Rob Hopkins, Tony Rees, and 1 or 2 others, because that's all. He had no money, and he was taking. Ron was taking players that he knew, like kids that he knew.
Obviously,
And you know, so I went that way. But what he did. He called me in, it was deadline week, and he went to me, I'm going to have to sell you, right, because I need to do this. And I went, okay. So he called me in and said, Portsmouth want you. And I think Portsmouth were a championship side at the time. So I said, look, no disrespect, but I'm not going to go to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So I walked out of the room, and he called Kevin Dillon in and went, Portsmouth want you. And Kevin Dillon went to Portsmouth, right? And that's how it was, right? So then, as I say, the next day he called me in and went, I don't know why they want you, but go over there and don't come back, you know, and that sort of thing. And
you must have been buzzing with the move, though, on a personal point.
Well, I had to get through the medical. I had half a day to get through the medical and negotiate. And there's no agents then. We was doing it ourselves.
Doing it yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So I had half a day to get it done by 4:00.
So you could play in the...
No, so I could get through the window.
Deadline.
Oh, right.
Deadline.
Yeah.
So it was that day. I went in to, like, 2 days before that, when he was trying to sell me to Portsmouth and whatever. I said to my missus, who was my girlfriend at the time, I said, look, you know, we could be moving anywhere. And I think we might as well get married. And she went to me, what is that, a marriage proposal? I said, well, yeah.
Yeah, sort of is, yeah.
Right, yeah, it is. So lo and behold, I said we could move anywhere. I moved a mile.
I had to get married.
So that was it, yeah. So when you go through the manager and coaches, I learned a lot from Ron Saunders. I only had him 6 months. I learned a lot from Ron Saunders. It was his way or no other way. That was it. We do this, we do that. And you could see why he was so successful at Villa. So I had a lot of time for Ron, although he didn't have a lot of time for me.
Boss, I was a Villa player. Martin O'Neill leaves. I don't know if there's truth in this or what we heard. I remember being at Bodymore Heath. Martin had left. And I think there's a group of players, or I certainly had heard because of West Ham, that you had got the Villa job. 2010 maybe? Is there any truth in that?
Yeah. I spoke to Randy Lerner on a couple of occasions. He lived in London, Randy Lerner. And I spoke to him on a couple of occasions. I thought it went well. And they signed Gerard Houllier. Signed Gerard Houllier. And one of the reasons that Gerard got the job, I was told afterwards, was because he convinced Randy Lerner that he had this network of scouts all around Europe and, he could bring in cheaper options. I think because Martin basically went British.
Yeah.
So he signed Gareth Barry.
Yeah. Milner,
Downing. And the prices were higher. So I got told that, Gerard convinced Randy that he could do this, which I thought, okay, fine. But his first signing was Darren Bent from Sunderland for 20 million,
20 odd mil.
who I bought for 2 million off of Ipswich and sold to Spurs for 15. So I thought, well, hold on, that ain't a cheap import, whatever. But anyway, it was close. It was close, but it never happened.
Never come around.
As someone that's represented both teams, who's bigger?
Well, it's a bit difficult, that is. Obviously, I think most people... most people perceive Villa because of what they've done, winning the league, winning the European Cup, etc., etc. But Birmingham, at the moment, are on their way.
Yeah.
With the owners they've got. Yeah. I got told the other day, I don't know how true it is, but they're thinking of building the new stadium.
Yeah, I've seen that. Looks good.
Or building on St Andrews.
Yeah.
But then building a sort of tunnel from New Street Station or whatever, so people can walk.
How far's that?
God knows. There's all sorts of plans going on, but I think they've got big plans for Birmingham. And if they do, I mean, when I was there, Birmingham, Villa, West Brom, Coventry,
Wolves.
Everyone was in the everyone was a top team. So there was a local derby every other week, and it was incredible, really. I think most people in the Midlands would like to see Birmingham back in the Premier League and having that hotbed again, because it was, as I said, you had Cyril Regis, Peter Barnes, Gary Owen at West Brom, you had Stevie Hunt and people like that at Coventry. Leicester was round the corner, Birmingham, Villa. It was just a hotbed of football.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
When you mention the owners, obviously Tom Brady, like high profile owner, ambitious as well. How hard is it managing upwards for a manager in those situations where there's a clear plan to grow quick?
Yeah. And I think there is pressure on the manager, and I think Birmingham recently have just turned it around a little bit, because I think they'd had a slump as well. And, when, no disrespect, but when you're dealing with owners that perhaps are a long way away, like American owners or whatever owners, they've got their own view on where a club should be and how much money they've spent and et cetera, et cetera. And there's no getting away from it. At this moment in time, Birmingham is a club that think they should be in the Premier League, and they're gearing themselves for that.
There's 20 of them in the Championship.
I know. Well, just looking at the Championship, it is like a Premier League too.
Yeah, well, I looked at the bottom 12 in the Championship, and 11, I think,
played in the Prem.
Have been in the Premier League. Yeah. Only I think there's Oxford, that outlier, and it shows how strong that division is.
They've all got Premier League stadiums, and if they are successful, they've got Premier League capacity to fill their stadiums. So it is a tough league at the moment, but as I say, Birmingham with owners who are very aggressive and want to do well, etc., comes the pressure, on the manager. And I'm sure that the Birmingham manager at the moment knows that.
So Ginge mentioned it before that you got linked to Villa after Charlton. Was that after Charlton? After West Ham. Sorry.
Yeah.
You've never gone back in?
There's a couple of reasons for that. It took me nearly 18 months to sort out the West Ham situation. I left, I said I was unfair dismissal, etc., or constructive dismissal. And that had not happened a lot in the Premier League, and I was one of the first managers to do that. Then suddenly I think Kevin Keegan at Newcastle, I think Martin even at Villa, that was happening more and more frequent, and you needed a panel of QCs to sort of decide, the outcome. And
the outcome was either
yes or no.
For you or the club, yeah.
So I had to go. It took over a year before it got into court, if you like, and it was difficult. But
I was going to say, was that tough for you, boss?
Yeah.
Especially being one of the first.
Well, if you lose, if I lost, then the finances in terms of solicitors' fees and everything were huge.
Massive, yeah.
And but during that time, while I was waiting, or once I won my case, David Sullivan took over at West Ham, so there was new owners at West Ham. And I do think if he had took over earlier, it had been sorted out. I'd have had a bit of time with David, but it wasn't. So it took over a year, and then after that, when you're free to, Alex Ferguson kept saying to me, "You've got to get back in. You've got to get back in. You've been out too long. You've got to get back in." And the managers around at the time, David Moyes, Sam Allardyce, Stevie Bruce, they jumped back in. A couple of them went to Sunderland, a couple of them went to West Brom, a couple of them went to Palace. You jump back in. And I'll perhaps become just a little bit too choosy.
Because you must have had a lot of opportunities
at
the time.
I had opportunities, but a couple of them were teams that were in relegation trouble, 10, 12 games to go, etc., etc.
Didn't fancy that again
No,
after 2007?
I just wanted to go somewhere where perhaps in the close season you had a clear run at it. But Alex kept saying to me, "You're out too long, you're out too long." And then suddenly, you're out too long. And
what was too long? Where did you feel that?
18 months, 2 years.
Is that it? And you felt that was too
long?
long?
You felt that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. No. I think clubs felt...
Look elsewhere.
You're done.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Because it was new chief executives, it was new owners, it was different sporting directors, etc., coming into the game, and perhaps had their own ideas, So... Yeah, I had opportunities to get back into the Premier League.
How many opportunities are you talking? 10?
No, 3 or 4. I had opportunities to go to championship clubs, but I was waiting for the one that I thought was right for me, and suddenly you're out too long, and I found a different lifestyle, a bit like yourselves. You're doing a bit of TV, you're doing this, and there was one thing I never really saw my kids grow up, but 20 years as a manager, I never really see my kids grow up. But I was then now seeing my grandkids and engaging, etc. So it was a different situation. And then, you're suddenly out too long and you're forgotten.
That's something that I noticed when I finished, is how, you might be at home and you might be around them, but you're not there.
You're not.
You're working out all sorts in your mind. And I imagine it's even worse for a manager. I was like a separate entity. Do you know what I'm saying? I
was there one day and EastEnders was on. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you'd probably be out looking at games. You were looking at reserve teams, your own reserve team, looking at players. Thursday was probably the day you didn't do anything, but then Europa League coming or the Fairs Cup coming, and that was on a Thursday. And then Friday, even if you're playing at home, you'd probably be in a hotel, wouldn't you? Yeah. Then you got your game Saturday. Sunday, I'd go abroad to France to watch a game. If my European scout was recommending people, you'd be going abroad
in and out on the day.
In and out on the day. Go there, drive through the tunnel, come back, then training Monday and whatever. And I remember watching EastEnders on a Thursday night, and someone come into it, and I just went, "Who's that?" And my daughter said, "Oh, Dad, what do you want to know for? You're never here."
Yeah.
And it wasn't like...
It's a side you don't
harsh.
see,
It wasn't harsh, but it was true. She said, "But you're never here. You're not going to see it again."
And did that land on you?
Yeah, no, I just remembered it, It made no difference, but, you still, I would never take my European scouts view on a player by a video.
You always had to go and see him live.
No, I had to go and see him. I'd have to, at some stage, go and see him. And one of the funniest stories, my European scouters took me to Lazio to see a player playing against Lazio that day. And Paolo was playing for Lazio, right? So we've flown in and we're walking towards the ground, and there was a young boy walking on with his dad, and on the back of his shirt was a message in Italian with Paolo underneath it. So I said to my European, Jeff Fatiri, what's that say? What's he saying? So Jeff Fatiri bent down behind the kid and started reading it, and it said, if I'm in the stands, I will be supporting Lazio. If I'm on the pitch, I'm supporting Lazio. Blah, blah, blah. I'm Lazio. Basically, I'm Lazio. So the game starts. They're playing the game, and I said to the chief scout, I think Paolo might not be coming on for the second half. You know, the way, he hadn't played too well the first half. Anyway, he's come out for the second half, and he's got substituted. And as he's come off, he's done the classic. He's kicked the bucket, done this, done that, bang, 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 and sat on the wall next to the dugout. And I looked at the my chief scout, and I sort of said, what's happened to the message? You know, because the message was, I blah, blah, blah. But that was Paolo. He just had to show how disappointed he was. But no, I used to go and watch. If my European scout, I would never sign anyone on. I don't know how managers do that. I had to go and see the player.
I'm sure we once signed a player for Palace summer. Apparently, it was on a video. Didn't make the 25-man squad.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's happened a few times, isn't it?
No, when I was at Charlton, I had to show the chairman that we had 5 or 6 reports on the player.
You've done the full work on it.
And actually, like homegrown players as well, But I had to show that, and I understood that. Unless it was an out-and-out player that everybody knew, like Ginge.
Yeah.
If you're after a centre-half and you've got this, you need to do it quick. Like, he's available, let's go and do it. But other than that, I had to prove that I'd been looking at these players, and that was the reason why I wanted them.
So when you were at Lazio that day, were you there to watch Paolo or not?
Yeah, I went to watch the opposition, player in the opposition.
So you've seen Paolo, and obviously he eventually came to you, didn't he?
Well, no, he'd left then.
This was after.
Oh,
He'd
sorry.
He'd gone, yeah. No,
what was he like to manage?
No, he'd done fantastic for Charlton. He just changed the whole atmosphere around the club, and the players responded. And he knew he was a father figure, and he'd done fantastically well. We finished 7th in that. That's the year we finished 7th. We should have.
Was that his first year?
Yeah, that was only. That was
Is that when he scored the goal?
Of course, yeah. That was West Ham.
It was West Ham. Yeah.
So we signed him on a free, and we played Chelsea on Boxing Day and beat Chelsea 4-2 at home, Charlton, and were 4th. And then 2 days later, Chelsea come and signed Scotty Parker, which was a real big thing.
Yeah, you spoke about
that. I remember that.
So Scotty, and it derailed us a bit because it took 2-3 weeks to get the deal done. They offered us really poor. They knew that Scotty wanted to go there, obviously, but they offered us real poor money and whatever. In the end, it took 2 weeks for us to get to 12 million and Carlton Cole on loan, who done great for us, Carlton. Yeah. He played with Di Canio up top. And, but it derailed us and we finished 7th. And I had this 12 million, but I couldn't spend it because everyone knew I had 12 million.
Yeah,
and it was only a week before the window closed. So, it wasn't good, but I understood it and we got on with it. But we finished. So Paolo was going to stay another year. And we played a pre-season game at Luton. And he was dreadful. Right? So we sat down, got them all in the centre circle because the dressing rooms at Luton's so small and whatever. Yeah. So we sat in the centre circle, having a chat and talked about it. And as the players got up, I said to Paolo, "You better stay here because I need to have a chat with you." And I said, "What's that? What was that?"
Yeah.
He went, "Boss, I'm sorry. Lazio want Paolo, and Paolo wants Lazio." I went, "Oh, right, okay."
That's not
so, no, at least he fronted it up.
No, but he didn't want to get injured. So he farted about on the wing.
No, I mean to you, like...
Oh, no. I knew obviously something was up. And, I just thought, well, there's no reason can't keep him. He was 34, 35. He'd done great the year before. But yeah, Lazio wants Paolo and Paolo wants Lazio. So, amazing. But that's the way he spoke.
Tell me what about the house bath. Boss, about when you're saying about the way he talks about Paolo in the third person.
So he's talking to Wayne Diesel, who was head of medical. So Wayne explains to him how good it's going to be for him and his legs. That tomorrow his legs are not going to ache as much as he thinks they're going to because of these ice baths. So I'm looking at Paolo and he's like deciding whether he's going to get in it or not because it's something new. Didn't know nothing about it. So then Paolo says to Wayne, can Paolo keep his kit on? Right? So Wayne says, Paolo, of course you can. You can keep all your kit on, right? Because he thought to get in the ice bath, you had to just jump in it like a bath.
Like a hot bath.
Like a bath. Wayne says, no, Paolo, of course you can. He said, oh, right, because Paolo doesn't want to take his shorts off. So the boys see his codger like that. So I'm sitting there thinking, just jump in that bath, right? Because I can see all the other young ones.
He's first.
Yeah, he's first. Oh no, he's walking off, right? I'm thinking, just jump in that bath. Because if you jump in, they're all going to
And you're obviously removed from it.
I'm next to Wayne like that. I'm looking at him. And as he jumped in, he winked at me as if to say, you owe me one.
Got him.
Because he knew that because he's jumping in, there's going to be no situation.
Was he I don't want to say hard work. Was he a handful, boss? For you?
No, I got him. I've heard all these stories about, and so what happened was the free transfer list comes through, and it still does now, I suppose, where it's got the player's name and his address and his phone number because you can deal direct with the player because he's a free.
Of course, yeah.
So I got this list through, and Paolo was on it, and I was thinking about it, and I knew that if I phoned anybody connected with West Ham or whatever, I'll be put off. I think I'll be put off by it. Anyway, I'm thinking about it. So in the end, I drove round to the address. And it's in Loughton.
Oh, really?
Right, so he's in Loughton. And there was gates. Right, so
you've just drove round cold?
Just drove round, just to find out where his house was. So I drove round and there was gates and everything else. And I thought, so I wrote a little note and put it in the letterbox. And about a week later, I get a phone call from his agent, Roberto, who said, we've seen the note and we would like to talk to you.
Wow.
So I went, and we're going to come back to England, blah, blah. So come round and let's have a chat. I've gone round armed with Jeff Fatiri, the Italian, who can speak Italian, the European scout, chief executive and the chairman. So we've gone right firm-handed.
Mob-handed,
yeah. So we've gone in and Paolo's opened the door. We've gone into the lounge and we started talking, small talk. And I said, look, Paolo, what we want to do, we want to show you a bit of history about the club because all you know is what you see, what we... Anyway, we put this video in. It was when Charlton won the FA Cup in the 30s or 40s and, leaving the valley, going back to the valley and this and this. And Paolo went, I love the history. I just loved the history. I just thought Charlton, Richard Rufus kicking me. So he said, boss, let the boys talk. Let them talk. I'll make you a coffee. So we've gone into the kitchen and he's making the coffee and that. And then suddenly Roberto shouts out at him. And he says, boss, I've got to talk to Roberto. So he goes into the hallway and they talk about what Charlton's... I had nothing to do with the money and that. So he comes back in and he goes, boss, I love the club, but not that much.
Oh, did he?
So obviously they weren't happy with the contract. So I've then come back out. We've all said our pleasantries and whatever. And so I said, well, that's fine. If we can't do it, we can't do it, and et cetera, et cetera. I think the club was worried that if Paolo come in on big money, the rest of the boys would be knocking on the door. Yeah, fair enough. So I said, right, fine. So I've gone that way home. They've gone that way, and they didn't get to the Blackwall Tunnel before they agreed it.
Wow.
Because everybody wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
So Paolo comes in, And from the first day of pre-season until his last game, he was fantastic for us at Charlton. And he changed the attitude of a lot of the young lads, fitness-wise, because of the way he trained. And the Charlton fans saw something that I don't think they'd ever seen before. We're playing Arsenal and we get a penalty. And Matty Holland's the penalty taker.
I remember this.
So Paolo grabs the ball. And I'm sitting upstairs, because I watched the first half. So I'm sitting upstairs and he's grabbed the ball off of Matty Holland. He's gone like that and he's put it on the spot. He's taking it and he's like... And I'm sitting upstairs thinking, you better score, because this is going to kick off. You know what I mean? Big time if you don't score, because he's nicked the ball and whatever. And he runs up and he does a Panenka over Lehman, right? And I'm sitting upstairs thinking, the Charlton fans have never seen anything like that, and they're never going to see it again, right? Someone take a penalty like that. Yeah. No, he was fantastic, and with the young lads, with the rest of the players, I've got a lot of time from him. And I was doing something for the Premier League. It was a tournament in Hong Kong. It was like a couple of Premier League teams and a couple of others, and a Hong Kong team were playing. And he came in because he was manager. Sunderland. So he's come in as one of the Premier League teams. And he's come over, and I'm talking to Scotty Parker, because he's there with Tottenham.
So a reunion?
Got the band back together.
No, I'm talking to Scotty Parker and Michael Dawson, right? And Paolo's come in, and he's seen Scotty, and he's come straight over and started having a go at Scotty, because he was trying to sign Scott, right? And Scott said, I can't go back up to the North East. I've done at Newcastle, I've lived up there, but Paolo, I can't. And he's having a right go at Scotty.
Is he?
Yeah, go. You never return my calls, and he's having a go. And then Scotty and Michael Dawson moved off. And I went, Paolo, calm down. I said, there's an old English adage, count to 10 before you say anything. I said, you need to count to a minute. Boss. No. So, but yeah, he was really influential, and he knew that he had that. But he was fantastic for us, and I've got a lot of time for Paolo.
So he took Charlton from lower divisions and established them in the Premier League, but there was one special game, 1998, playoff final against Sunderland.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I think we finished third and Sunderland finished fourth, and so it was the two teams that should be in the final, if you like. But I knew Reedy really well, played in the under-21s with him and played against him loads of times. And yeah, it's just an amazing day. The one thing I get every time I think about it is the whole stadium was red and white, because Sunderland was red and white and Charlton were red and white, like 70,000, just like crazy. And it was just an amazing day. The way the game worked out, and then the penalties was just incredible. And it was a game that we at Charlton had to win, because I knew that if Charlton didn't win, I was going to lose quite a few of the players. I was going to lose quite a few.
Thought you were going to see your job there. That would have been harsh.
No, there was Premier League clubs sniffing around players, and we wouldn't have been out. The reason why we got some league players was that they knew that if a big club come in, they could go. But obviously, and I knew that Sunderland could bounce back. And the amazing thing about that was that Reedy come into our dressing room afterwards and shook everyone's hand. Really? And I thought, there's absolutely no way I could have done that. Yeah, I couldn't have gone into Sunderland's. He come in and said, well done, and everything else. But the funny thing about that was that the penalties went... So I had to name the first 5 penalty takers.
Did you have 5 put their hands up?
No, we had 5.
Yeah.
And the referee, we had to tell the referee the 5.
Was it a pre-5 or was it decided
on
the pitch?
No, it was a pre-5.
Okay.
Like that, if it went to penalties. So during the week we practiced the penalties in case it went to penalties. But we had the 5, right? And me and Reedy had to give Kenneth Wolstenholme, I think the ref, and we had to give the ref the list, and then we had to leave. We weren't allowed in the centre circle. The players were just in there. So it got to the 5 penalty takers. So now number 6. So the players...
Nobody knows who it is.
No, the players had to decide. right? And there's 2 players.
Had you pulled someone and said, like, you're deciding?
No, I didn't think it was a go past 5.
Hoping it wasn't.
So, cut a long story short, apparently, I'm being told afterwards, Eddie Howard's the centre half and Richard Rufus are just looking that way.
Yeah, don't fancy it.
There's no way. There's no way. I'm telling. So the 6th one, I think, is Sean Newton. And when you see it, he's so nervous, he's actually jogged all the way to the penalty.
Has he?
Because he said the walk would have just killed him from the halfway line. Anyway, when it comes to the next one, the ref's saying, come on, who is it? And I think Richard Rufus pushes someone out. And like he goes and takes it. And I hear all these stories afterwards. And it's quite incredible, isn't it? Because it went past the 5. But yeah, I think, as I said earlier, we needed to win that because it was going to be changing for everybody. And I thought Sunderland could respond, and they did. They went straight up next year, they won promotion outright. But it was obviously a turning point for the club.
You spent 7 years in the Premier League after that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I understand your brother's in the music business, Alan.
Elder brother. He is 83 at the moment, getting on to 84. He's been in the music business for a long while, and he's managed The Who for 50-odd years, UB40, Judas Priest, other bands like Golden Earring. So, been very successful, and actually put the biggest concert on at the Valley in the 70s that no one's ever seen before. When I was managing Charlton, I was forever getting all these older fans coming up to me and talking about when they played Man United, there was 60,000 at the Valley, and when they played this team and that team, there was always 65,000 because the big bank held 35,000. So, I kept getting these stories. In the end, get a bit fed up with it a little bit. So I said, look, that ain't the biggest crowd that's ever been at the Valley. The biggest crowd at the Valley was in 1974 when The Who played there, because there was 88,000 people there.
Your brother sorted it all out.
Because my brother was the manager, and it was an all-day event, Bad Company, this band, that band. It went on all day, and I think the mayor of London was Ken Livingstone, who ended up flying an helicopter over the Valley, and they could tell by the square inch how many people was in there. Yeah. So Harvey Goldsmith was the tour and the concert organizer, and he got fined because there were too many people.
They said there was too many people.
There was too many people. 80,000. They said there was over 80,000 people at the Valley that day. So whenever they used to come up to me and tell me how big they was at the biggest game, that was the biggest. That was the biggest crowd ever at the Valley.
There you have it. Success runs in the family.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for coming in,
That's
spending
right.
some time with us. It was really enjoyable. Sit down and hear the stories about West Ham, Charlton and up in Birmingham. Thank you, Alan, for joining the show. Thoroughly enjoyable chat. This has been Clutch 9, powered by Betway.